India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour. India is emerging as a major maritime power in the world, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi as he commissions 3 frontline naval combatants in Mumbai. South Korea's impeached President Yoon exercises right to silence in martial law probe. Qatar says Gaza ceasefire deal in final stages as hostage families caught between hope and despair. And over 35 million devotees brave biting cold and icy waters to take dip at Sangam, the holy confluence of rivers in India's Prayagraj. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicated 3 frontline naval combatants, INS Surat, INS Nilgiri and INS Vaghsher, to the nation on their commissioning at the Naval Dockyard in Mumbai today. The commissioning of 3 major naval combatants marks a significant leap forward in realizing India's vision of becoming a global leader in defence manufacturing and maritime security. INS Surat, the 4th and the final ship of P-15B guided missile destroyer project, ranks among the largest and most sophisticated destroyers in the world. It has an indigenous content of 75% and is equipped with state-of-the-art weapon sensor packages and advanced network centering capabilities. INS Nilgiri, the first ship of P-17A stealth frigate project, has been designed by Indian Navy's Warship Design Bureau and incorporates advanced features for enhanced survivability, seakeeping and stealth, reflecting the next generation of indigenous frigates. INS Vaghsher, the 6th and final submarine of the P-75 Scorpene project, represents India's growing expertise in submarine construction and has been constructed in collaboration with the Naval Group of France. Speaking on the occasion, Prime Minister Modi termed it as a very big day for India's maritime heritage, the glorious history of Indian Navy and the Atmanirbhar Bharat Make in India Abhiyan. Prime Minister Modi also congratulated all those involved in building of these made in India naval combatants.
भारत विस्तारवाद नहीं, भारत विकासवाद की भावना से काम करता है। भारत ने हमेशा ओपन, सिक्योर, इंक्लूसिव और प्रॉस्परस इंडो पैसिफिक रीजन का समर्थन किया है। इसलिए जब समुद्र से सटे देशों के विकास की बात आई तो भारत ने मंत्र दिया सागर। सागर का मतलब है सिक्योरिटी एंड ग्रोथ फॉर ऑल इन द रीजन.
As Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Maharashtra, he will also inaugurate Asia's second largest ISKCON temple being built in Kharghar, Navi Mumbai later today. DD India's Shishir Shelar tells us what makes this ISKCON temple in Navi Mumbai special.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate Asia's second largest ISKCON temple on Wednesday. This temple is built in Kharghar, Navi Mumbai. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness, an organization that propagates the Bhagavad Gita, has built this temple. This temple is spread over 9 acres. The temple has been constructed entirely of white and brown marble stones. In the hall of this temple, pictures of Lord Krishna have been used using 3D techniques. This temple dedicated to Lord Krishna has been named Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan. The temple also features amenities including a guest house, a restaurant, a yoga and Ayurveda center, a gym and a library. A major attraction within the temple premises is a 1,008-seater cultural center and auditorium designed to host performances, spiritual discourses and Vedic teachings.
Within this premise, we have one center that consists of, the big temple over here of Radha Sri Radha Madan Mohanji, Darbar of Sri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman, Sri Gaurnitai, and then we have the Dasavatar temple. And apart from that, we have a building where we have a Vedic college, the free of cost education we are providing, and then we are providing a Brahmachari ashram, then Brahmacharini ashram, then we have a Sannyas ashram, and the wonderful Srila Prabhupada and the founder Acharya's memorial over here.
While talking about the recent attack on ISKCON temple in Bangladesh, Kharghar ISKCON temple trustee and president Dr. Surdas Prabhu said that he condemns the cowardly attack on the ISKCON temple in Bangladesh. He also supported the policies of Indian government regarding Bangladesh.
The purpose of this center is also to make people happy by giving them the diversified Vedic culture like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam and other scriptures like Upanishad, Chaitanya Charitamrita and other things are also taught. We like to pray to the Supreme Lord, let the Bangladeshis become, wonderful devotees. In fact, I just want to tell you very clearly, Bangladesh recently was on the top, export-oriented country. But now everything has declined. Why it is declining? Because they have not understood the mercy of brotherhood.
Devotees are happy with this ISKCON temple built in Navi Mumbai. Many residents of Navi Mumbai expressed their desire for an ISKCON temple and a cultural space in their city. Shishir Selar's report for DD India.
India is celebrating its Army Day today to honour the armed forces and their immense sacrifices for the country. President Draupadi Murmu greeted army personnel and veterans on the occasion. Sharing a post on X, she wrote, and I quote, "On Army Day, I extend my greetings to the Indian Army personnel, veterans and their families. Your unwavering commitment to safeguarding the sovereignty of the nation and ensuring national security is an inspiration for all. The nation remembers the gratitude, the countless sacrifices you've made in service of the motherland. Your humanitarian work during crises and disasters is a testament to your kindness and compassion. May your extraordinary valor and courage continue to inspire generations to come." Unquote. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lauded the Indian Army for its determination, professionalism and dedication and underlined the government's commitment to the welfare of armed forces and their families. The day is observed to commemorate General K.M. Kariappa, who later became Field Marshal, taking over the command of the Indian Army from General F.R.R. Bushare, the last British Commander-in-Chief in 1949, becoming the first Indian Commander-in-Chief of independent India. The Army Day Parade this year is being held in Western India's Pune city. At the Army Day celebrations, Chief of Army Staff General Upendra Dwivedi presented the Sena Medal to honour the bravery and supreme sacrifice of soldiers. The Army Chief emphasised that while the situation along the northern border remains sensitive, it is stable. The Army Chief also extended his gratitude to the Navy and Air Force, acknowledging the coordination between the tri-services.
भारतीय नौसेना और भारतीय वायुसेना के बहुमूल्य प्रयासों और योगदान के प्रति आभार प्रकट करना चाहता हूं, जिन्होंने सदैव हमारे संचालन एवं प्रशिक्षण के दौरान सहायता की। मुझे विश्वास है कि तीनों सेनाएं देश के प्रत्येक नागरिक के साथ मिलकर राष्ट्र के सामने आने वाली किसी भी चुनौती का मुकाबला करके देश के लिए हमेशा जीत हासिल करेंगे।
And a band contingent from Nepal also participated in the Army Day Parade this year, symbolizing the historic and brotherly ties between the two countries. And now all the news from the Maha Kumbh, the largest religious congregation in the world. Maha Kumbh 2025 in Prayagraj is poised to be a monumental spiritual event drawing over 450 million devotees from around the world. On January 14th, nearly 35 million of devotees gathered at the Triveni Sangam in Prayagraj for the first Amrit Snan of Maha Kumbh, coinciding with the festival of Makar Sankranti. The sacred gathering showcases centuries-old traditions with cultural grandeur. With cutting-edge technology, advanced safety measures and extensive planning, the event promises a secure and transformative experience for pilgrims.
Devotion is visible at every corner of the holy land of Prayagraj. Elaborate security arrangements, including water ambulance, water police station, underwater drones, and all the other necessary arrangements were made for the devotees and pilgrims who came here to take holy dip in this confluence of this mega event. There is a massive influx of people who are coming here to witness the grandeur of Maha Kumbh 2025. Arrangements have been put in place to make sure that everything goes in a very smooth line manner, from fire department to NDRF to SDRF. Every department has made sure that this largest congregation, the largest religious congregation on earth, remains peaceful, safe and secure. Maha Kumbh continues to be the epicenter of spirituality and a platform of faith and cultural exchange. Around 450 to 500 million people are expected to come in this mega event. People from all over the world are also coming and participating in this mega event. With camera person Rakesh Kumar, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj reporting for DD India in Prayagraj.
The sanitation workers in Maha Kumbh 2025 are playing a pivotal role in maintaining cleanliness at the Triveni Sangam, and it is a government's initiative. Here's DD India's Siddharth Bharadwaj's special report.
In Uttar Pradesh's Prayagraj, Maha Kumbh 2025, the largest religious gathering on earth is taking place, where around 450 to 500 million people are expected to come. The government is leaving no stone unturned to make sure that sanitization becomes and remains a priority. I'm at Arel Ghat area and you can see behind me, you can see how clean this area is. Yesterday was Amrit Snan, the first Amrit Snan of Maha Kumbh 2025 on Makar Sankranti, where around 3.5 crore people took dip in the holy waters of Triveni Sangam. These are Ganga Seva Doots who have been deployed to make sure that the ghats and the area where the pilgrims and devotees are coming remains clean. Sanitation workers work 24 hours to make sure that the ghats and the area around the ghats remain clean. I have some workers with me. Let's talk to them.
यही है हमारा काम, जो कि मतलब झाड़ू वाड़ू लगाना, जो कचरा है वो उठा के डस्टबिन में डालना, यही सब करते हैं सर। वहाँ गंगा जी का भी घाट साफ करते हैं। पानी से वो गंगा जी में फूल वूल जो बहाते हैं और कचरा वचड़ा जो करते हैं वो फड़वे से निकाल लेते हैं।
सुबह से आते हैं तो झाड़ू लगाते हैं वो गंगा जी के किनारे और यहाँ मैदान में सगले काम करा के और बस अपना बस यही काम है
सर। यहाँ पे पूरी हमारी जिम्मेदारी है साफ सफाई करने के लिए, साफ सफाई करते हैं, यहाँ पे 24 घंटा काम करते हैं।
The sanitation workers play key role when it comes to the cleanliness in and around ghats. They say that they work 24 hours in shifts and make sure that people throw garbage only in dustbin. With camera person Rakesh Kumar, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj reporting for DD India in Prayagraj.
You're watching DD India News. Still to come on this show. US to remove Cuba's terrorism tag blacklist in exchange for release of political prisoners. US Security Advisor Jake Sullivan passes the baton to his Trump-appointed successor Michael Waltz. And Mozambique President-elect Daniel Chapo is set to be inaugurated on Wednesday, just as the main opposition leader vows to create unrest.
timeless, boundless and infinite, the essence of faith, the soul of Sanatan culture, from the sacred confluence of Prayag, where divinity descends to earth. Witness the grandeur, the devotion, the magic, world's largest cultural and spiritual gathering, with over 450 million devotees expected to attend. Maha Kumbh, India's greatest festival of faith. Exclusively on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I am Tanvi Taneja. There is a new hope to end the Israel-Hamas conflict. Reports are coming in that the ceasefire deal is in the final stages. The draft proposal shared with Israel and Hamas by Qatari mediators would say 33 children, women and older men, as well as sick and wounded hostages released during the first phase of an extended ceasefire. Our correspondent has the latest.
Qatar, Egypt and the United States have intensified efforts to broker a ceasefire to enable the release of hostages taken during Hamas's October 7, 2023 attack on Israel. More than 8 hours of talks in Doha had fueled optimism. Officials from mediators Qatar, Egypt and the United States, as well as Israel and Hamas, said an agreement for a truce in the besieged enclave and the release of hostages was closer than ever.
During the past months, there were underlying issues, major issues between the two parties unresolved. These issues were resolved during the talks in the past couple of weeks, and therefore we have reached a point where the major issues that were preventing a deal from happening were addressed, and we have language pertaining to these issues that has been distributed between both parties.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony, meanwhile, said that it is up to Hamas to seal a Gaza ceasefire, saying a final proposal is on the table.
Over the past several weeks, our intensive efforts have brought us to the brink of full and final agreement. On Sunday, the United States, Qatar, and Egypt put forward a final proposal. The ball is now in Hamas's court. If Hamas accepts, the deal is ready to be concluded and implemented.
While Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar, during a visit to Rome, said that there was a true willingness from our side to reach an agreement.
I believe that if we will achieve this hostage deal, we will have a majority in the government that will support the agreement. So this is the simple answer. I know there is a true willingness from our side to reach an agreement.
US President Joe Biden and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi also held discussions in Washington on Tuesday, with both the leaders emphasizing urgent need for a deal to be implemented and surging humanitarian aid in Gaza. Israel believes most of these hostages on the list are alive, but has not had confirmation from Hamas. The ceasefire deal has left families of the 98 hostages still in the enclave facing a mix of hope, apprehension, and in some cases anger as negotiators make a final push to seal an agreement.
I don't know what's his situation, so I try not to prepare, because what I'll prepare? To a funeral and to a celebration together? I mean, that's all this time since October 7. Funerals and small celebration when hostages coming home and continuing to the next.
With all sides expressing optimism, the international community is watching closely. The potential for a truce offers a glimmer of hope amid the ongoing humanitarian crisis. As talks approach a critical juncture, the world awaits news on whether a truce can be achieved. Bureau Report, DD India.
The Biden administration has notified Congress that it will remove Cuba from its list of state sponsors of terrorism as part of a prisoner release deal. The move will likely be overturned after the return to office next week of President-elect Donald Trump. He reinstated Cuba's terror designation in the final days of his first presidency in 2021, banning U.S. economic aid and arms exports to the country. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo designated Cuba a state sponsor of terrorism in January 2021, just days before leaving office, saying at the time that Havana was providing support for acts of international terrorism. Cuba said on Tuesday that it would release 553 prisoners imprisoned for diverse crimes in response to the announcement. Cuba welcomed the move as a step in the right direction, but lamented it was still under U.S. sanctions in place since 1962. The Catholic Church had been negotiating with the communist-run government over the release of prisoners. Most of them were jailed following unprecedented island-wide protests in July 2021. Cuba has been one of just 4 nations designated as state sponsors of terrorism, along with North Korea, Iran and Syria. The Caribbean nation blames the U.S. blockade for its worst economic crisis in decades, marked by shortages of fuel, food, medicines and electricity. Still with the United States, the incoming Trump administration gets hold over the National Security Office. Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor, symbolically passed the baton to his successor advisor designate Michael Waltz. During a conversation at the United States Institute of Peace in Washington, Sullivan and Waltz discussed the challenges the United States will face in the months and years ahead. Balancing immediate crises with long-term strategy, Biden administration is expecting to close out ceasefire and hostage deal, eyeing long-term strategic competition with China. Waltz highlighted pressing domestic and international concerns, the southern border. He refers that opening nature of it is just unacceptable.
You hear voices. The most immediate, aside from the natural disaster that we're dealing with, I think, is our southern border, and the open nature of it is just unacceptable in my view, and I certainly think loud and clear in the President-elect's view. So you're going to see a lot of action to close the border, to go back to the policies that we believe were working. Whether that's remain in Mexico or working with the Mexicans to fortify their southern border.
Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov took a jibe at the outgoing U.S. President Joe Biden during a press conference on Tuesday. Lavrov called out Biden's administration over its parting attempts to screw up relations between Moscow and Washington. Lavrov also accused the West of developing a habit of profiting off of other countries. RT's Igor Pishkunov reports.
Foreign Minister Lavrov says that it's now become a tradition for outgoing Democratic administrations to try to make life as difficult as possible for the coming Republican administrations.
The United States does not need any competitor in any area, starting with energy, where they give the go-ahead to carry out terrorist activities to destroy the basis of the energy well-being of the European Union. They now incite their Ukrainian clients to take out the Turk Stream gas pipeline, just like Nord Stream. And there are a lot of sanctions implemented against China, even against its allies, without blinking. Sanctions are imposed as soon as there is the slightest fear that they will produce something cheaper somewhere and will promote it more effectively to international markets than American manufacturers do.
Since the stop of transit of Russian gas through Ukrainian territory caused by Kiev, starting from January 1st, Turk Stream has become the most important route for the supplies of Russian energy to Central Europe. And according to the Russian Defense Ministry, on the 11th of January, Ukraine used 9 aircraft-type UAVs to attack a compressor station which pumps gas into that pipeline in Krasnodar region in Russia. Thankfully for European consumers, the damage wasn't critical, and this compressor station continues supplying gas into the pipeline.
As Donald Trump's inauguration approaches, Mexico is taking steps to address Trump's concerns on migration into the United States. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has intensified crackdown against migrants traveling to the U.S. border by detaining an unprecedented 475,000 migrants between October and December. This has opened the possibility that Mexico may be willing to accept non-Mexicans deported from the United States. Additionally, Sheinbaum's government has seized a record 1,100 kg of illicit fentanyl and unveiled new tariffs against some Asian goods and confiscated counterfeit Chinese products in several Mexican cities.
I'm convinced the relationship between Mexico and the United States will be good and respectful, where dialogue will prevail. Our vision is of Mexican humanism, of fraternity between people and nations. But we'll always keep our head high.
On to Europe, NATO is launching a new mission to protect undersea cables in the Baltic Sea region. The mission, dubbed as Baltic Sentry, includes frigates, patrol aircraft and naval drones in the Baltic Sea to help protect critical infrastructure and reserve the right to take action against ships suspected of posing a security threat. The announcement comes following a string of incidents in which power cables, telecom links and gas pipelines have been damaged in the wake of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Finnish authorities seized the vessel, setting a precedent for action against rogue ships. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte warned that any threats will face severe consequences, including arrests. Latvia acknowledged the challenge of monitoring 2,000 daily ships. British Minister Tulip Siddiq, responsible for financial services and fighting corruption, resigned on Tuesday after weeks of questions over her financial ties to her aunt, Sheikh Hasina, ousted last year as Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Tulip Siddiq had repeatedly denied any wrongdoing, and Prime Minister Keir Starmer said last week that he had full confidence in her. The resignation of a second government minister in 2 months is a blow to Starmer. Siddiq's departure follows the resignation of British Transport Minister Louise Haigh late last year. Siddiq was handed the portfolio for financial services policy after the election. Starmer swiftly appointed Emma Reynolds, who was a pensions minister, to Siddiq's role. Siddiq was named in December as part of Bangladesh's investigation into whether her family were involved in siphoning off funds from Bangladeshi infrastructure projects. Mozambique is at crossroads. The country has been roiled by political chaos since the October election, which led to widespread demonstrations and a deadly response by police. Mozambique President-elect Daniel Chapo is set to be inaugurated on Wednesday. A national strike is being threatened more than 3 months since disputed elections. Chapo's biggest rival is Venancio Mondlane. Last week, Mondlane returned from self-imposed exile. He spent time in South Africa. He had fled the country after a top aide was shot dead, one of around 300 people killed in unrest since the war. Mondlane's supporters claim to paralyze the country over the election that he says was stolen on the eve of his rival's swearing in.
If it means paralyzing the country for the entire term, we will paralyze it for the entire term. Let's see how they plan to govern this. Which people do you think they are governing if they are killing the very same people? What kind of dialogue do they want when they are shooting and killing people? What kind of genuine dialogue is this? Taking lives while calling for talks.
Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Spanish police apprehended a gang suspected of smuggling more than 40,000 tons a year of untreated urban waste from Italy to Spain. The gang set up a series of front companies, falsifying documents to make it look as though the waste had undergone treatments that were never carried out. In Australia, experts are warning against a dangerous and illegal beauty product that's taken social media by storm. Nasal tanning sprays, easily accessible and marketed to young people as a quick way to get a lasting tan without spending hours in the sun. The side effects can include chest pain, nausea and vomiting, and face redness. But there have been reports of kidney dysfunction and swelling of the brain as well. The most concerning factor, although, are the risk of skin cancers. And the Tharu community in Nepal observed Maghi festival with much fanfare and gaiety for 5 consecutive days. The vibrant celebrations of Maghi are in full swing in the Tharu indigenous community. The 5-day-long fanfare of Maghi, celebrated from the day of Makar Sankranti, is seen especially in the Terai districts of Madesh, Lumbini and Sudur Paschim province. Still to come on DD India News Hour. A huge federal probe is underway into what caused the deadly Los Angeles wildfires, with millions in the city clamoring for answers. South Korean police disperse Yoon supporters near the presidential residence. We discuss with our expert what Yoon's arrest means for South Korea.
This week on Defense Dynamics, unravel the secrets behind India's revolutionary CATS warrior prototype. What are these CATS and how will they redefine the warfare? Why is making fighter jet engines still a monumental challenge? We analyze the hurdles. Can Donald Trump bring an end to Ukraine war after January 20th? A geopolitical analysis you can't miss. Updates on India-Maldives defense ties and the evolving dynamics of Afghan-India relations. This Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. A quick reminder of the headlines we are tracking at this hour. India is emerging as a major maritime power in the world, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi as he commissions 3 frontline naval combatants in Mumbai. South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol exercises the right to silence in martial law probe. And Qatar says Gaza ceasefire deal is in final stages as hostage families are caught between hope and despair. South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol was arrested on Wednesday, marking a historic moment in the nation's political crisis. But Yoon Suk-yeol is exercising his right to remain silent, investigators said on Wednesday, as the suspended leader was questioned over his abortive declaration of martial law. Yoon's arrest follows his refusal to appear at the Constitutional Court and the growing fallout from his failed martial law declaration last month.
South Korean authorities on Wednesday stormed President Yoon's heavily fortified residence, leading to his arrest. The operation saw police officers and investigators from the Corruption Investigation Office scaling walls and hiking up trails to reach the compound. Their second attempt to arrest the impeached president. Yoon had been holed up in his hillside residence, guarded by a small army of security personnel behind barbed wire barriers. Yoon was arrested over his controversial martial law declaration in December, a move that escalated tensions across the nation. The declaration, which involved deploying soldiers and helicopters to parliament, triggered mass protests and calls for his impeachment. Yoon's decision to declare martial law was seen as a severe overreach, leading to the political instability that eventually resulted in his removal from office. Yoon's motorcade left his residence and arrived at the offices of the Corruption Investigation Office for questioning. However, impeached South Korean president, in a pre-recorded video message, said that he had decided to submit to questioning over his failed martial law bid to avert bloodshed, even though he believed the probe was illegal.
저는 오늘 이들이
When I saw them break into the security area using firefighting equipment today, I decided to respond to the CIO's investigation, despite it being an illegal investigation, to prevent unsavory bloodshed. However, that doesn't mean I am acknowledging the investigation of the CIO.
하지만 공수처 출석에 응하기로 했습니다.
Yoon is the first sitting president in South Korea's history to be arrested, a development that has seen shockwaves throughout the country. Following his arrest, he can be held up for up to 48 hours under the existing warrant. Investigators would need to apply for another warrant if they wish to extend his detention. Meanwhile, the Constitutional Court is deliberating on whether to uphold Yoon's impeachment. The next hearing is scheduled for January 16th, with the nation watching with bated breath if his removal from office will be finalized. Harshita Oberoy's report for DD India.
And Ambassador C. Rajashekhar, former senior India diplomat, joins us now on this story. Welcome, Rajashekhar ji, to the program. Yoon Suk-yeol has been arrested. What finally do you think really made him decide to allow himself to be arrested after being holed up for weeks in his hillside residence?
You can see he tried everything in the book. 3 times he resisted the summons, and he, so to say, he tried to use his presidential bodyguards to stop the approaching police from arresting him, which is also questionable because resisting, a police officer is wrong. His contention is that as president he is immune, but the anti-corruption office is holding him accountable for the insurrection that he has caused through declaration of martial law on 3rd of December. So that is the play of events, and he can be detained till tomorrow morning Indian time, dawn time, and unless the warrant is renewed, they get the permission from the judicial authorities to hold him in custody. He has so far been resisting. He has kept quiet. So basically, the point is there must have been negotiations behind the political parties, but they have broken down apparently.
Okay, separately, the Constitutional Court of South Korea is deliberating on whether to uphold Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment by Parliament and permanently remove him from office or restore his presidential powers. How could that affect the legal proceedings against him?
Yes, that is the legal constitutional charge that he is facing. There also you can see him losing. There are to be 9 judges on the Constitutional Court, and there were only 6 because 3 vacancies could not be filled earlier. But the Parliament has since been able to appoint 2 more. So there are today 8 judges on the Constitutional Court, and it is sufficient if only 6 of them concur with the motion to impeach him. So there also now the earlier was that 6 out of 6 had to accept the impeachment, which held out a little mathematical probability that he may survive. Now that also is difficult. There also he did not show up on Tuesday. Again tomorrow they will continue to proceed with or without his presence.
What is likely to be the impeached president's defense for declaring martial law for which he has been arrested, and is his defense at all likely to stand up in court?
Of course, he will argue, as he has already put out, that he tried to uphold constitution and resist anti-state activities because the opposition controlled parliament, and through parliament they tried to obstruct his administration. That is his main contention. Thereby he tried to uphold constitution is his argument. But that seems to be increasingly untenable, although there seem to be a little increase in support of his persona, that he is being violated. A sitting president being arrested for the first time, naturally it is riling, it is troubling the supporters of the People's Power, his party and his supporters. So the support for his party has marginally gone up, reducing the margin between the two parties. But clearly his argument may not be tenable. Of course, it's finally up to the Constitution Court of Korea. Out of 8 sitting judges, the majority view would decide.
Okay, at this stage, politically and legally, what is the best case and the worst case scenario for the impeached president, and does he have any political future left?
There seems to be the narrowing gap between best and worst case scenarios that he would certainly clearly, foreseeably argue that he, as the sitting president, tried to uphold the constitution by overcoming the forces, the illegal elements in the parliament who tried to obstruct the progress of his administration activities and initiatives. But on the other hand, the prosecution would argue that the declaration of martial law in itself was wrong because the parliament has immediately undone that by clearly majority. Therefore, it's very unlikely that he would survive. The writing is on the wall. He tried very hard, avoiding summons, not appearing before the Constitution Court, resisting arrest. Unfortunate that the forces which are being deployed for his personal security had to contend, had to quarrel, struggle, obstruct. The police, Korean police, were coming to approach him. It's very unfortunate. But interestingly, the supporters of President Yoon are arguing that President Trump also faced a similar thing. You see, President is heading this warning. And certainly President Trump will come to the rescue of President Yoon as an ally of Korea. That's an interesting argument, to say the
It's
least.
an interesting argument. So you think that this whole martial law debacle would not affect his political future to that extent? Do you think he still has scope, political scope?
No, not only his personal political future, this is gone clearly. More importantly, his party, People's Party, is trying to salvage the situation because what happens is Constitution Court may take up to 180 days or much before that they'll decide, and within 2 months presidential election will be called. There the party would try very hard to retain power because anyway they are lost parliament. Now they don't want to lose the blue house, what presidential office is called. So they will try very hard to cut the further losses, which if they continue to resist, that may be damaging not only to the persona of Mr. Yoon, but to the political party that he represents, the People's Party also.
And how far, if at all, could this whole affair affect political stability in South Korea?
We must admire that democracy is asserting itself and the majesty of rule of law is prevailing, upheld. And the people, by and large, are in support peacefully of democracy. There was upheaval, unfortunately, because of the martial law. And we're all interested, as fellow Asian countries, friends of Korea. Japan has issued statement that they're seriously concerned, interested. And America said that, hopefully the situation would legally, peacefully be resolved. I'm sure, India also is thinking the same. As a global strategic partner, that we have special economic, strategic, people-to-people, strong relations with Korea. We hope that stability, normalcy will restore as quickly as possible.
So South Korean democracy standing tall amid all this chaos for now. Thank you so much, Ambassador C. Rajashekhar, for joining us on DD India News. Moving on. A huge federal probe was underway into what caused the deadly Los Angeles wildfires, with millions in the city clamoring for answers. Several theories have surfaced about what started these blazes, including downed power lines, deliberate arson, a stray firework, and the re-ignition of an earlier fire. Meanwhile, powerful winds forecast for late Tuesday night threaten to trigger massive fires that are still burning around Los Angeles. National Weather Service has warned people to stay aware of their surroundings and be ready to evacuate. A large part of Southern California was under a red flag warning till Wednesday, indicating that intense dryness and furious winds gusting up to 70 miles an hour would make conditions ripe for wildfire. The deadly wildfire that has claimed the lives of 24 people has put more than 88,000 people under evacuation orders. 12,000 structures have been damaged. Search teams are using cadaver dogs to scour the rubble for days in the hunt for dozens of people still unaccounted for.
It's devastating. For Kamala and for so many of you, it's home. She and I and our entire administration have been working closely with Governor Newsom, Senator Padilla, Senator Schiff, the entire congressional delegation, to make sure California has every possible resource to fight these fires and help the survivors.
Roaring fires devastating parts of Los Angeles is an incongruous sight. Air tankers dropping gallons of bright red and Barbie pink slurry over forest, homes, cars and anything else that might lie in the blaze's path. The substance, vivid against the grey smoke and charred landscape, is a fire retardant, much of it a product called Phosgene that has been used by the US Forest Service since the 1960s. But over the past week, it's been dropped on residential neighborhoods at an unprecedented scale, covering the area in Barbie pink slurry. A cat cafe in Los Angeles is offering free 15-minute cat cuddling sessions to help people affected by the city's ongoing wildfires, relief from the stress and anxiety caused by the disaster. The cafe is rescuing cats and kittens from high-kill shelters, providing them with a safe and loving space where they can be socialized and cared until they find their homes forever. The cafe serves as a sanctuary where patrons can visit, play and cuddle with the felines to help them become more friendly and adoptable. In India, dense fog and cold weather delayed train and flight departures in several parts of northern region, including capital New Delhi, on Wednesday. India's Met Department has issued an orange alert for the national capital, forecasting dense to very dense fog in many areas. Vehicles were seen crawling along highways through the fog and people huddled indoors as the temperatures dipped to 7 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, visibility lowered in the national capital as dense smog engulfed the region. The region has been battling poor air quality and smog since the beginning of the winter season. You're watching DD India News Hour, still to come on the show. In sports, we will give you an update on the other side on the ongoing Australian Open tournament. And India dominates over Brazil in men's Kho-Kho opening match with a stunning performance.
Timeless, boundless and infinite, the essence of faith, the soul of Sanatan culture, from the sacred confluence of Prayag, where divinity descends to earth. Witness the grandeur, the devotion, the magic, world's largest cultural and spiritual gathering, with over 450 million devotees expected to attend. Maha Kumbh, India's greatest festival of faith. Exclusively on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. India leads the epitome of resilience among the leading economies despite the challenging global environment. The PhD CCI report on India's growth story shows continuous growth, with GDP surpassing $4 trillion in 2025. This should read as GDP surpassing $4 trillion in 2024. India will also become the fourth largest economy by 2026, supported by robust economic fundamentals and dynamic business environment. An analysis conducted by the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry in a report on New Year Economics, PhD CCI Economic Outlook 2025 projects that India will be the most resilient economy among the top 10 leading economies in the next 3 years. The analysis is based on leading macroeconomic indicators, including growth of GDP, exports, savings, investments, and debt to GDP ratio. Who doesn't like a bit of chocolate every once in a while? The Swiss actually like it a lot, and the country consumes more chocolate per capita than any other country. But Germany and Austria are also close, as are some other European companies, including Belgium, where some top brands are located. For Germans especially, there has been a new trend in chocolate as of late, and it's a hit, bit of a snag. Lars Holte is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin now. Lars, what's the latest chocolate craze in Germany?
Thanks for having me. Well, it's called Dubai chocolate. It's a really delicious kind of chocolate filled with pistachio cream and angel hair. As the name suggests, it stems from Dubai and it has recently entered the German chocolate market just a couple of months ago. It was an immediate success, fired up by social media influencers who shared their obsession with this admittedly really delicious treat. The Dubai chocolate craze went so far with people lining up for several city street blocks whenever a new batch was delivered to some stores here. Case in point, the Swiss brand Linz, a store in Berlin. A couple of weeks before Christmas, they offered just a couple of bars of Dubai chocolate. They sold at ridiculous prices, but still sold out within half an hour. The regular grocery stores didn't want to miss out on the trend and offered whatever they could get their hands on. And that led to some funny escapades, including regular chocolate selling for 99 cents a bar right next to Dubai chocolate bars selling for up to 30 euros.
And what's the problem with this Dubai chocolate? Why is there suddenly an end in sight for it?
Well, funny thing, it turns out that Dubai chocolate has to come from Dubai, but that country doesn't produce enough apparently for export and to fill the demand of consumers. So many chocolate makers resorted to other options. They simply made their own versions of Dubai chocolate or imported Dubai, let's say Dubai style chocolate from elsewhere, which means Turkish made bars, for example, sold under the Dubai moniker in grocery stores. It didn't take long for the original Dubai importer to sue. He claimed that chocolate not coming in from Dubai is not actually Dubai chocolate and that these retailers are abusing a trademark. Interesting note here, the EU has very strict laws on regional branding. They were originally meant to protect European brands from foreign counterfeiting. Turns out these laws have to be applied both ways, and now German importers are learning that there is no quick workaround such regional themed branding. And a court just now banned Germany's biggest retailers, Aldi and Lidl, from selling Dubai chocolate, as their particular bars did actually not come from that country.
Okay, thank you, Lars. Lars Holter reporting from DW Berlin. And time now for sporting updates. First, updates from tennis. In men's category, four-time Grand Slam winner Carlos Alcaraz dropped just 5 games in an ominous display of strength at the Australian Open on Wednesday to sprint into the third round. The Spanish defeated Japan's Yoshihito Nishioka 6-0, 6-1, 6-4. Alcaraz is bidding to become the youngest men's winner in Australia since Novak Djokovic won in 2008. Meanwhile, Novak Djokovic takes another step towards a 25th Grand Slam title with a 6-1, 6-7, 6-3, 6-2 victory over Portuguese qualifier Jaime Faria in the second round on Wednesday. Defending champion Arna Sabalenka battled through serving woes to make it to the third round of Australian Open, but it was a less than convincing display by the world number 1. Sabalenka dropped serve 3 times and faced 11 break points before overcoming Spain's Jessica Manioro 6-3, 7-5, rattling off the last 5 games in a row. Meanwhile, Cheng Qin-wen was the first big name to exit the women's draw at the Australian Open on Wednesday after the Olympic champion was stunned by Laura Singmont 7-6, 6-3. In another match, former Australian Open champion Naomi Osaka fought back from a set down against Karolina Muchova before winning 1-6, 6-1, 6-3. Team Gonasica secured their second win of this season's Hockey India League and kept their semi-finals hopes alive after beating Surma Hockey Club 2-1 in Rourkela on Tuesday. Surma missed the services of its ace drag flicker Harmanpreet Singh in the match. However, Gonasica's second win could not lift it from the 7th position. Surma also remained stationary after the third loss. Belgian midfielder Victor Wegnes, who returned after missing 3 matches due to fitness issues, wore the captain's armband. Surma's Gurjant Singh regretted missing a sitter, while Gonasica's Morton scored the winner in closing moments when Surma was a man down. Indian men's team outclassed Brazil 64-34 in a dominant display of skill and strategy to move closer to the knockout stage of the Coco World Cup on Tuesday. Brazil started well in their attack, getting 16 points to their name, but India came back strong. India earned 2 points during a dream run that kept the Brazilians on their toes. Turn 2 was very impressive for the men in blue as they upped the ante while attacking the Brazilians. Brazil piled the pressure on India in turn 3, scoring an impressive 34 points to set up an exciting final 7 minutes of the match. The match that kept the spectators on the edge of their seats saw India proving their mettle and bouncing back in turn 4. And vivid lanterns combining traditional Chinese cultural elements and technology have been set up in China's Sichuan province as the city gears up to host its Spring Festival. The event comes as part of the celebrations for the Spring Festival, the most important annual festivity in China, which centers around the Chinese Lunar New Year. So with the stunning visuals from China's Sichuan, we wind up this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live, and you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks air on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.